Welcome to Tansson TV Plus. Of course, I am Brandon.
And I'm Mom. And we thank you so much for joining us here today again.
Yeah, we always love doing this. And Mom, I know we're continuing on our superhero tradition. And what are we speaking about today?
Today we're going to talk about Wonder Woman, the original.
Yeah, so I'm very excited to speak about, Lynda Carter's Wonder Woman and really dive into this. I know this July we are trying to change up our first episodes a little bit by doing some superhero shows. And so I know this was one that came to mind for both of us.
Yeah, it sure did. It sure did. And Brandon, it was actually exciting to watch. It was, like I said, we did watch the first episode together. And in a nutshell, there are a lot of details that went on, but in one or two sentences, I will say in this particular episode that Wonder Woman is actually there to help during the World War II time period, and she helps with one of the military operations.
Yeah, and so it's really interesting. I mean, for us getting to the backstory here, and also that the series was, released in 1975, and so there are quite a few things that going into this that we weren't familiar with. And Mom, are you able to name a few?
Yeah, the first thing that stood out to me was that the episode itself took place in the 1940s. And so that really shocked me because I will say I did watch Wonder Woman here and there throughout the course of the years, and I never remembered that time period. I know, Brandon, you could shed a little bit more light about that because we did find out that the first couple seasons did one thing and later on did something else. And I didn't know if you want to enlighten the viewers about that.
Yeah, so doing a little bit of research into it. So apparently, for the series Wonder Woman, it did air with both a pilot then a first season on ABC, and was set in the 1940s during World War II. But then in its move over to CBS for the last two seasons, that it went from being set in World War II to being set in the then present day, and so everything sort of shifted a bit, and they did let the characters sort of evolve from there. And so it's certainly an interesting take, and they rebranded it as The New Adventures of Wonder Woman. And so that's very interesting. I know, like we're mentioning, we have seen a few episodes over the past few years, but we never knew that it took place in the 1940s.
Yeah, I was completely shocked, and I actually had once I pushed play, I had to go back and say, no, I don't think this is right, and I ended up flipping to the a little later in the series to see just one scene to see that it was that at that part in time it was in the 70s that it took place. So yes, so that was very interesting just for me to see. And then something else that I found intriguing was I didn't realize that Wonder Woman's mother was actually in the series, and that was played by Cloris Leachman. And she had a sister also that was introduced in the pilot episodes. And I think you mentioned, Brandon, that the mother or the families mentioned in later episodes also.
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, it is. But again, that's just research. We haven't quite gotten there yet.
Yeah. And then the last thing that I did not know was that one woman actually lived on an island, lived on an island without any men, and so I did not know that she was really separated or isolated from the other parts of the world, and her mother was apparently trying to protect her children.
Yeah, and so it's definitely interesting to know, especially the timeline of it. I believe that Wonder Woman's mother had actually mentioned that that it was hundreds of years ago that they came to that island and retreated because just I guess the men were horrible. So we don't know who these people really are, other than that it's just a island full of women on Paradise Island, and that they were supposedly in a spot that they would never be able to be found.
Yeah, and I don't recall them even talking about her powers per se, or how she got her powers.
I don't know if they really mentioned that per se. Now they did actually mention like her stuff, like her lasso and some of her outfit were all a part of the tradition that she won by doing sort of like a little Olympic trials as to
Mm.
which of the best people from Paradise Island can head over to America. And something I thought was interesting was that they said that the people, they were Amazonian, like as in the Amazon,
Mhm.
and that I guess you don't age if you're on the island, but once you leave the island, then you will regress to being human.
Yeah. Oh, and there's something else. I'm sorry, this just hit me. There was an invisible plane involved, and that was kind of intriguing itself too.
Yeah, the invisible jet was quite interesting, especially with the whole dialogue with that, and and I guess to back it up a little bit, the whole reason as to why Wonder Woman left to begin with is because this random man showed up on the island.
Yeah, he was shot, and they just found she and her sister just kind of found him on the beach, and it was kind of interesting to watch. With Wonder Woman just picked him up and ran with him, and they got him some help that he needed until they can get him back to the U.S.
And yeah, and I don't know, and maybe it was established, but I don't know if Wonder Woman, other than just being the princess, actually had a name prior to actually being Wonder Woman.
Now, I tried to listen for that also. They always just refer to her as Wonder Woman during that first, up until a certain point in the episode, they referred to her as Wonder Woman.
But that's definitely, was interesting to know. And so yeah, and the reason that it noted within the episode that she was titled Wonder Woman you know is that her mother, I guess the queen of the island, said that when she shows up to the United States to return the one man, the soldier, is that she'll be a Wonder Woman. And then she's like, huh, Wonder Woman.
Yeah, like I said, knowing that some of the backstory was really just quite interesting.
Yeah, it really was. And were there anything else that, I mean, that you really took note of within this pilot episode?
No, actually, that's what stood out to me. At the end, I will note that at the end, when Wonder Woman, well, she was there the whole time period, but at the end of the episode, she meets the same gentleman who she helped, and she is introduced as a different person. So at that point in time, it seems like he doesn't recall speaking to her herself, realizing that this is the same person who helped him.
Which is really interesting because she wore plenty of disguises in her previous interactions with him, and he recognized her instantly. So the fact that now she's, you know, in a role, so to speak, with him, and he doesn't recognize her, just seems a little bit odd. I mean, I know obviously they need it to work for the purposes of the show, but but she was in numerous outfits throughout the thing, numerous disguises, and he recognized her every time except for this one, apparently.
Yes, yes.
But Mom, I know, of course, we had a theme song as well.
Oh, yes. The Wonder Woman theme song stands out pretty well. Of course, it sounds like they're just repeating Wonder Woman all the time, but it is a very catchy theme song. I like the cartoons that they use that go along with it. I thought they did a really nice job with the theme song.
And speaking to what we were saying earlier, that us not really being familiar with it being the first season taking place during World War II, is that the theme song, at least for this pilot episode, actually is themed towards World War II.
Yes, it is. They do it, and I shouldn't have said cartoons. The comic book, the kind of snapshots that they show, it is geared toward that particular time period.
And I will say, even with all the graphics in the episode, that they do feel like they come right out of a comic book. And I will say too that something I really appreciate about this viewing is I thought it just gives such a positive message, and a female role model, just because they oftentimes mention that a Wonder Woman and some of the other women were just so underestimated. In fact, even the villain.
Yeah, even the villain was a woman also. So yes, they talk a lot about womanhood, or at least she talks a lot about womanhood in this series, along with the mother.
Yeah, and even going back to the villain, though, is that she was doing a lot of her stuff in plain sight, and just no one was paying her any mind. And even after she was revealed, it still doesn't seem like anyone really cared.
Yeah, and she was also saying the villain, when it came to the main gentleman who they were kind of torturing a little bit, she said she's like, "Oh, he trusts me, so he'll believe anything that I say." And so it was interesting, like you said, to watch that and realize that this villain was in plain sight the whole time period.
Yeah, it really is. But overall, Mom, we always come to this big question at the end: would we watch this again, or rather continue watching?
Yeah, I may not watch it one by one, but I will if it's on. I think I will watch it, and I think I'll be a little bit more cautious of, like I said, the time period, and try to see what the difference is between the two times. I do know with technology that when the episodes that I do remember were the ones where I was kind of amazed a little bit at the forward thinking technology at that point in time that was on the show. And so I think I will be paying a little bit more attention to what air is really taking place in.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd definitely, continue watching. Actually, I'd like to see the transition of when it switched from, like I said in the 1940s to the present day at the time of the mid 1970s, to see how that transition took place. Like if it was just truly, a seamless one right then and there, season 2, episode 1, or like that's something I'd want to tune in to see as well. And just, and overall how they showcase that time period.
Yes, yes, and I guess I should be watching also since it did take place in the 40s. What did they do that was a little bit different during that time period? So that would be interesting to see too. So not only the 70s and how they move forward, but what the what was going on in the 40s also, to see how they use maybe some future technology at that time period that we didn't quite pick up on.
Yeah, and I would also like to see too, like I know in this episode that Wonder Woman, she was still getting adjusted to American culture and like the over reliance on like money, for instance, the concept she didn't really
Mm.
understand, but it seems that she's picking it up quickly, and so it'd be interesting, in my thought, to note like what else does she seem as like as foreign.
Yeah, and also I didn't realize also that it was as heavy of the military would play in this particular episode also, not just in this episode, but what it looked like for the first season or so.
Definitely, and I know that we have some Tansson TV connections here.
Oh yes, what are they, Brandon?
So let's start off with the obvious one. So first of all, Wonder Woman's mother is portrayed by Cloris Leachman, at least in this pilot, and we have seen her thus far on the channel. We have seen her on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, where she had, of course, a prominent role there, and she got a spin-off series at that. And then later on, even though we have not discussed this time yet, she also appears on The Facts of Life.
Yes, yes, she does. She does. Did you have any other connections?
So I would say another too that is not as obvious is that the composers for for the Wonder Woman series are the same ones that composed the show The Hogan Family alongside Laverne and Shirley.
Oh, that's incredible. That's good. I didn't know that part, Brand.
Yeah, so it's definitely interesting. Like diving into that, I always try to see what little connections there are, and it's interesting as we progress more and more just how interconnected the world of TV is, especially
Yeah,
as we expand further, like into movies and everything.
it is. It is. And I can't wait to, it'd be interesting if our viewing audience actually has seen the first episode of Wonder Woman. And if so, what were your thoughts about it?
I definitely love for it, for you to tune in. But Mom, this is just so fun discussing the series, and I can't wait to see more of it.
Yep, same here. I can't wait to see what our next superhero show will be, Brandon.
Yeah, well, until next time, have a wonderful day.
All right. Same to everyone out there. Have a great day, everyone.
We'll see you next time.
Bye bye.